Welcome to the National Indian Gaming Association, the New Normal webcast, Life in the Time of the Pandemic, Year 3. My name is Ashley Cope, and I'm the Marketing Manager for the Indian Gaming Trade Show and Convention. I just want to share a few housekeeping tips before we get started. Everyone is muted by default except for our speakers. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question or chat box, and they will be brought up at the end. And this session will also be recorded and available on our website. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Victor Rocha, Conference Chairman of the National Indian Gaming Association.
Thank you, Ashley. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy New Year for everyone. I apologize. I would do a blank right there. Welcome to the newest year 3 of the pandemic. And I believe this is our 3rd year with this webcast going into it too. So that's kind of insane that we've been doing this as long as we have, but yet here we are again. I'd like to welcome my co-host, Jason Giles. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, good, Victor.
And
Glad
then
everyone could join us.
And of course, our illustrious and glorious leader, Chairman Ernie Stevens, being a good leader, wearing a mask, leading by example. Chairman, good to see you again.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be on. And again, we keep this mask close by. I got like 3 here and I got a couple in my desk. And if we really need the hardcore stuff, I got the K95s that are the top mask, but it's a little bit small for me. So I got to wear these big ones over it. So we got customized masks. We got K95, and we even got the ones that you get in the casino. If you show up without a mask, they make you wear one. So we got all kinds of.
You know what? I have so many masks in my car, in my office, on my desk. And, at this point, I almost feel guilty throwing them away, even though some of them, occasionally I pick one up and there's like a funky smell in it. And you're immediately, it's like wrestling off the alien and off your face in the first Aliens, And, but, the reason why I think this webcast is important, because now we're going into the year 2022. And, in 2020, 2 years ago, when we were in Europe, as this thing started creeping up, I remember thinking, this thing is only going to be temporary. It's not going to last that long. And yet here we are going into our 3rd year of a pandemic. And, it really got me thinking about, about how we're going to have to live with this thing. I think we can't be as, I wouldn't say optimistic, because I think we'll always be optimistic, but I think we can't be so naive to think that this thing is going to go away anytime soon. And I think what's really important now, and the thing that we have to talk about in our role with the National Gaming Association, but is, to talk about how we do business in this environment and continuing, that's one of the things that I've found, that I find really fascinating about all this, is how the wheels of the economy keep rolling. Sometimes they're not as quick, but right now we're at a point, during this, right before Christmas, everything started shutting down again. The Christmas parties started getting canceled, the flights started getting canceled, as the hospitalization rates have grown. And, it's that same sinking feeling that we had right before our show happened in July, as the Delta variant was starting to get legs. Is like, it trended up and then it trended down. And then there was this just strangely familiar feeling that this is happening again. And kind of that's what we're seeing yet, is that it's ramping up. You're seeing the cancellations of flights, you're seeing hospitalization rates go up. So, I think the big thing now is, to understanding that, we need to be very careful like we were last time. Yet, the wildest part about all this is that the numbers for gaming are going through the roof. Nevada's just had their 4th month in a row for $1 billion a month. And I know from personally tribal gaming, and from my casino and going over there with a mask on, it's just packed, through the roof. So Jason, what do you think is going on here?
Yeah, a couple of things that just to put it in perspective. I mean, uh, unfortunately, I think the flight numbers and you see the amount of scheduled flights, and of course, there's massive, unprecedented cancellations. I think the evidence shows people didn't really take Christmas or New Year's off. They had travel plans, and by golly, they were going to go travel, and everybody was going to go do what they wanted to do. So, I think the worst of it is still probably the next 2 weeks. I know in Maryland here, they just declared a state of emergency because our hospitals are full and they're activating the National Guard. And it just comes down to this. Governor Hogan, he pointed out, Maryland has a 92% adult vaccination rate, one of the highest in the country. 75% of the people in the hospitals with COVID are unvaccinated. So that little tiny 8% of a state that has 6 million people, that 8% is just flooding the hospitals, also creating strain on. Like 6:30 this morning, we get a message, our school bus services are disrupted because so many people are calling out sick. It's, I don't know how long this is going to go on. The flight situation is just god awful, and hopefully that can get resolved. Because what everyone's on here today, everybody wants to hear, what are we thinking about trade show? What are we doing about trade show? And, the way this pandemic has moved, it's always moved from east to west. And I know that, LA and some of the more populous areas in California are already seeing a big upsurge. But I'm telling you, you get into the more rural areas where people are less vaccinated, that is going to overwhelm your system, because if it did it in Maryland, where we have 92% vaccination rate and 8% of the unvaccinated population is filling our hospitals and also calling out sick. And, it's not just one person. If someone in the house gets COVID, everybody's kind of shut down. So, it's a mess right now. And, to what everybody wants to hear today about the trade show, we've talked to chairman, and that really, we've only talked to the chairman so far, but I don't know that we're going to wait for Anaheim to tell us what the rules are or what their conditions are. I mean, pretty much right now, we're moving forward with vaccine requirement for the trade show. And the only question is if that's going to be 2 shots or 3 shots. And, that's a question, and that's probably for the state authorities and county authorities. And then the issue of masks, hopefully there'll be some shows before ours in April. We'll see how they roll out. But, I know folks aren't keen on the mask. I certainly didn't like wearing a mask all day at G2E. It's draining is what it really was. It's just draining. And,
yeah,
so,
by day 2, man, and day 3, I mean, you really are feeling some fatigue from wearing that all the time. And, there's also the mental tax of, dealing with people and, on top of that also. So I apologize, Jason.
But no, and just the last thing is, we're going to look at it. Anaheim is a bigger trade show floor area, and there may be some things we can do, because a lot of people at G2E like the fact that they could have their own private interview rooms, and everyone could go in there and take the masks off. Everyone's vaccinated and sit in their booth area and do interviews, do sales pitches, all of that kind of stuff. So maybe we make more room for that kind of accommodation, just because we know that standing around in a mask for 8 hours is taxing, challenging, uncomfortable, all that.
Remember, like at one point I was making, oh, sorry, Chairman, go ahead.
As long as you're on the mask, I know it's tough, but I think, Victor's a little bit younger than me, but pretty much close to the same vulnerability.
Wow.
Jason Giles,
wow.
on the other hand, Jason Giles is about 20 years younger than us, maybe a little less than that. He's young and in good shape. So we're old dudes. So I apologize for lumping you in with me, Victor, but this one here, I've got masks from a bunch of people. My friend Linda Rapp from Oglala country, and I got this other guy's name. I'm trying to get Ricky to find it for me. He gave me a bunch of masks, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he pointed me to Ford Foundation, and Ford Foundation has sent me like 2 or 3 pallets of masks. So during the heat of the heart of this horrible pandemic, I've been loading up my SUV and driving to wherever I could reach, Michigan, Michigan, Minnesota, and mostly in Wisconsin. And we're giving these masks away, and we're still doing that. But I just wanted to emphasize that it is a little bit of a burden but here's the best one. The best one is called it's called a K95, and it gives you the best protection. So what I've done is that, unfortunately for me, I have a little bit bigger cranium than the average man. So it's when you put this on, this K95 on, my ears bend forward, and I'm old, but I like to maintain a little bit of credibility in my appearance. So if I get this back behind my ear and get this down, I kind of ripped it already a little bit. Then I got this homemade mask. We invest a few dollars in this mask. Maybe this one's better. This one is actually got an Oneida Nation on it, So then we get this one over the top of it like this, and then we spread it out and then drop it over the glasses. There's also some stuff you can put on your glasses to help with the fog, but this will save my life. And so it is burden. It has a burden, and again, we let me take this off for a minute. But again, that what's more importantly going to save my life is, I should say, more importantly, equal to this is the boost or the shot, the second shot, and now I have a booster shot. So again, these are the kind of things that, again, it is a burden. It is tough, and it wears on you. But I hope it's gonna save my life, and I hope it's gonna save other people's lives. So if I happen to get near this Omicron, I don't transmit it. So I just say this, and I got a few friends that I know that are not vaccinated, and I just respectfully, I used to try to debate with them, and that didn't work so well. But I just say respectfully, if nothing else, for yourself, not for yourself, for your family, for your relatives, for the people around you, reconsider your thought on not getting vaccinated. Get us vaccinated. Let's everybody get vaccinated so we can get to that light at the end of the tunnel. And whatever that new normal is going to be, might be masked. That's why I'm prepared. I even got some other ones that are a little more stylish.
Chairman, I thought this webcast would be over by now. I thought we'd be back into a new world, and you wouldn't have to do this anymore.
You thought we'd be in DC this right now,
I thought for sure, man. I thought for sure it'd be Christmas parties and mistletoe, and instead of kissing through masks and stuff like that. I think one of the things there's two issues here. A, we're going to be in California. In California, masks are going to be mandatory. We're not going to be at Pachanga, so we're going to be dealing with state laws. They're a little more stringent here in California than they are elsewhere. So I think that's going to be important. Whether they mandate vaccines or boosts, they're not doing that yet, but they are mandating masks in California. And we do have a lower, hospitalization rate, although that's going up right now. So I think you're kind of optimistic. And I think the other thing that's really important is that this is the way we do business now. We're going to have an opportunity here at the trade show to show people how we do business going forward. This is the new normal. This is how you're going to, I think people are going to feel better knowing that there's a higher vaccination rate, a higher boost rate in Indian country. I think we have to create the safe environment to do business. Like you said, Jason, have these spaces to do business. It was funny, Jay, where I used to joke that, maybe what the future business is going to look like is a lot like going to Chino prison and visiting someone in your family. You're going to be at a big glass wall, you have a phone, you talk to each other, touching the glass, and I love you, let's have this business deal. And, I think we're used to that because, this is where we come from. But, I think we're going to have to train our friends who are not used to visiting federal prisons or other jails, visiting our family over the holidays, that, it's going to be easy for us, right? Chairman, don't you think? I mean, you've visited
Yeah.
one or two members in jail, right?
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm not sure about that one. Let me move on to the next subject. I might even get, never mind. I'm not touching that one.
Listen, I'm look. I was in jail. They were visiting me. I'll just come clean right now. All right. So
okay. Well, let me just say, it's important that we put up with this discomfort of that's created around this, because we gotta move our industry forward. And I think that the industry folks have really proven in that we anticipated, right, when this whole dark day 2 years ago when we shut this world down, we hunkered down and prepared for the worst and anticipated a 50% decline, and our numbers came in the low 20%. I think that's a good accomplishment. I think it's an amazing accomplishment by Indian country, and I think that that's what we're doing. We have to continue to do so. I tend to, I don't spend a lot of money at the casino because I got to balance it between my slot machine and my food. So there's free drinks, so I cover that base. But I think it's important to appreciate that our industry is moving forward. And to credit to the gaming commissioners, to the tribal leaders, and the people that actually run the shop, and most importantly, to those people who come right behind you and wipe that machine down. You're at a clean area that's cleansed. So as we proven in July that we could run a show, that we're gonna not put anybody at risk, but we're going to require more than likely the mask and the vaccine. That's just the way of the world. And if we respect people that make decisions not to comply with that, they're just going to have to stay home, and that's just the way it is. But the rest of us are going to be working, and again, provided that this atmosphere gets better and that we can get through these tougher times, we're going to get back to work. And we're going to keep our industry moving forward. And I'm looking forward to Anaheim in the springtime, and I'm looking forward to getting on to the next chapter in our life. Now, maybe I'm objective, but I'm not blind. So we won't do anything crazy, but I would say we'd have to be vaccinated and have to have our masks on, But I think we're going to find a light in the tunnel, and it's not going to come from being ambitious or trying to create something or make it happen. It's going to come from what has got us to where we are today. Good, clean machines, hardworking team, wearing their mask and getting vaccinated. That's where we're going to look. That's where we're going to find that light in the tunnel.
I agree 100%, Chairman. I think, if anything, the tribal casinos,
This guy though,
have, that they know how to operate in a pandemic. Again, one of the things that I've really found fascinating is if you start looking at the numbers, the casinos are doing incredible numbers. They're just. I went down to my place over the weekend and stopped by real quick just to do a check and stuff. And there was
Victor,
packed. Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
And for our industry and for the associate members on here, we know why the consumer, they have more money in their pocket now. We know there were multiple stimulus programs. We know wages have been increasing rapidly to try to draw more workers in. Also, we've got to keep the numbers a little bit in perspective. We should be comparing them to 2019, not more recent times when everything went way down. Now it's way back up. But I know there are casinos out there that have had all-time record profitable months, which is amazing. And we know the consumer, for the most part, is strong right now with all the stimulus money, higher wages. But, it is driving inflation a little. Hopefully that can come down. Now, it's different on the scale for our businesses, the ones that are going to come to the trade show and buy those big booths and everything. And we're going to be engaged with them. We know that a lot of them, and primarily through AGEM, they voice their concerns about traveling overseas to ICE. They voice concerns about, the cost of shipping everything during a pandemic and people getting stuck and all that kind of stuff. So, we won't have those issues with our show, but I know that, just for example, just to move into the trade show floor now is probably going to cost a lot more than it did in 2019. Just from the union wages, but also the back end staff. They're probably having to pay them more to attract more people to come work at convention centers. shoulder to shoulder type stuff. So, you know, I'm really, that's where my focus is. You know, a lot of these record casino profits and everything, you know, it's great for the Indian gaming community. It's great for a lot of these hotels and casinos, but I don't know how much, you know, the other businesses that support all of that. I mean, I think they're doing okay, but I know in this inflation hits corporations the most. And so, you know, we're going to try to keep an eye on that as well. We don't want to make it too overly burdensome and too much money to come to our trade show. We're keeping that in mind as well. So that's why, you know, we're working with Clarion. They're taking a big hit with, you know, ICE's rescheduling, I guess.
Well,
But,
Jason, you know, what are you talking about with ICE? We haven't even made
yeah,
that
well,
announcement.
so they were supposed to go first week of February, and now they're going to move it to the week before our show. I don't know that they've made an official announcement yet. Maybe I'm jumping the gun.
Tonight, I was
Okay.
got texted from someone at
Yeah.
Clarion saying it's going to be
So,
tonight.
you know, that's, you know, they got to do what they got to do. They have contractual issues with the convention center over there, the Excel Center. And also, by the way, everything is solid booked for like 2 years in every large venue in Europe because of all the cancellations over the past 2 years. So the only time they had was the week before our show. Well, you know, that I don't think our market's going to go over there anytime soon. You know, the same conditions are still in place with questionable travel and all of that. So, but you know, we're not looking to postpone or reschedule ours at all. We're gonna, you know, like Ernie said, do the right thing, mask up, get the shots. We're reaching out to Clear, the company. If you're familiar, going through airports, they had a really good system at G2E where you just get the app, download your vaccination card, swipe it, you're in. So, you know, we're going to do all those things to make it easier for our attendees and our exhibitors to come and have a good show.
Right. And, you know, I think our focus of the show will be health and safety, to making sure that we create this safe environment where we all can do business. This is the new normal. You know, one of the interesting things is I finally saw, you know, one of the part of my conversation with people was talking about doing business in during the pandemic. Look at how Walmart, Costco, Target, how they're doing business every day, Staters or the Bonds or wherever market, Piggly Wiggly. But I just saw the other day in Tennessee, like one of the first Walmarts shut down because they had like, you know, half their crew members. So, you know, it's very real. But I think one of the important things is we have to be optimistic too. According to what I've been reading, they're saying this is going to peak at the end of January, then it'll start going down. So by the time our show gets here, I think we will be in that valley again. And if anything, you know, like the Delta variant, which kind of froze a little of the excitement for G2E, just like this Omicron has affected ICE. I think with us, I feel that again, we're going to be in that cycle where the hospitalization rate will be down. It'll be in California. I think people feel a little safer there. So, you know, we will definitely be focusing on the business of gaming and the business of health and safety, and to create the environment that where we can do business, because we have to do business. You know, business is not going away. Now, you know, some of the things, Jason, that as I was doing my research today, you know, they're talking about the big employment, you know, this big thing they call the big great resignations. 4.5 million people quit their jobs in November. Mm-hmm. You know, and you know, these are real issues that are affecting the tribes and affecting the businesses, our hotels, our restaurants. You know, I think you're starting to see definitely a bigger push towards automation. I think you know, I don't see anybody rushing to get their buffet back. You know, at least I'm not seeing it here in California. You know, so you know, these are really huge changes in what the nature of our business is going to be, and especially now with mobile and sports betting and people being able to stay home and gamble. I think it's really important that we, you know, that we keep going forward in what we're doing, which is health and safety being the priority that it is. You know, so it's just wild, man.
Right.
You know. Well, we have some questions. I apologize. I have been looking at things. Have you seen any numbers on property revenue off gaming floor, hotel, F&B, entertainment? Just curious on the rebound. Well, first of all, entertainment's non-existent, and F&B is
Waiting.
kind of just, they're having the same problems that I see, and this is from an empirical, that, they're having trouble hiring waitresses and keeping them, I'm seeing people being moved around on the floors and stuff like that. So, it's still in crisis mode, except on the floor, where Christmas, it was packed. During New Year's, it was packed. People are I stayed home on New Year's. I have my birthday is next week. Thanks, everyone. And it's a big one. I'm going to be 60 years old, and as Chairman was saying, kind of I'm up there. Thanks for reminding everyone, Chairman. But I will be staying home with my family, and hopefully I can have a party when we have our show or something like that. I can celebrate my this big event in my life. So
Big 6-0.
I will be. So Val, you know what I mean? That's kind of. By the way, the question was from our friend Val Spicer. As far as hotels, and from again, this is all empirical. I'm seeing just other than the cancellations, but everything's pretty packed.
Mhm.
It's just this dichotomy. It's just so wild. You think it's one thing, and yet it's another. You think that. Question, Ernest Matthews. What is the date you've heard ICE? We are hearing that it's going to be the week before our show.
Yeah, so like April 11th to the 15th.
Right. And
And
again, they're going to have a hard time. You know what I mean?
Right.
The international travel is going to be, a lot worse than dealing with land-based, gaming in the United States. Worst case
Right.
scenario, if we create such a compelling conference that people will get in the car and drive. But Jason, what do you think this is going to mean for us now that ICE is on our doorstep? Should we be concerned?
Oh no, I don't think anyone always gonna risk flying over there and spend the money and then come back here. And we communicated that to everybody that, obviously our show in North America is gonna take prominence. And the thing, gaming is international now, so there's plenty of companies over there, short flight for IGT in Rome to go over to London. I don't know. If they're, but that's an example of how international gaming has become. So, they'll still get a crowd, but we're going to focus on our domestic market here and hopefully have a great show. When I was at Pachanga, I was asking around when we were there for our New Year's, and you're right, the buffets were not open. A lot of the restaurants were still using, they give you plastic utensils and stuff. You would think, oh, they're worried about COVID. They couldn't find, I talked to the one guy, he said dishwashers. They couldn't find dishwashers. They couldn't find enough dishwashers throughout the day to keep all the dishes clean and keep them recycled and going through. It's stuff like that really worries an operation. The back end stuff where never thought it was that important. All of a sudden you can't function unless you have clean dishes. Same goes with the hotel. I'm sure everybody's had this instance now where they literally, you have to ask sometimes several times for maid service to get your sheets changed, to get new towels.
Oh, Vegas was bad, man.
Yeah,
Vegas was bad when we were there. Oh my God.
Yeah, they just don't have the staffing to have however many maids per floor. And so, it's that kind of stuff. And like I say, we're seeing it with the airlines and how they're struggling. And I'm hopeful, like you are, that we've got to get past this surge here, and it has, at least in South Africa, it was quick. We'll see how it plays out in the rest of Europe. I mean, the difference I've seen of several doctors point out, South Africa is in summertime right now, so they're outdoors more. We're in winter, so there's saying just be cautious and keep that in mind. But yeah, so it's a tough situation. But again, I've just Ernie's the only one that we've talked to about it, and he's all about safety, and that's what our show is going to be all about, safety. And I think the tribal leaders expect that at this point, Ernie. I mean, I know you got Red Cliff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we drove to Red Cliff last week and honored their folks up there. And it wasn't just about Red Cliff, but we picked a place where it's for the most part a tourist location. It has more of a summer market, and it's quiet up there now. So we wanted the staff to know that we appreciate them. So we gave them a recognition. We gave them one of our lapel pins, and we recognize them for their diligence, for the working, for all the things that our employees have had to do throughout this pandemic. We wanted to make them our example, but the message was to all of Indian country. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you've done, and thank you for continuing to persevere and to be careful. And so that's what we did. And I think it's something that's important to do, because, you know, people don't always appreciate that person that wipes down the machine. And I do, because it's clean when I get there. And as soon as I get up, they're wiping it down again. Our industry has rebounded and has continued to build back in a manner that is safe and careful. And we can't do it without those folks. And to their credit, I don't know where are these folks that we need to keep our industry going. This like you talked about, you know, people not wanting to do some of those jobs. They're tough jobs and they don't pay a whole bunch. But you know, I remember working for, you know, $1.50 an hour or selling newspapers on the street corner. I remember wanting to get a job when I couldn't find one, and so when I look at our inability to fill these jobs, it's truly reflective of the state of our world around us, and we have to do everything we can to make it better, to rebuild, to build back. And we were on this morning here with President Holsey over at Stockbridge Muncie, and the president, just like all the leaders throughout Indian country, have to make tough decisions to protect their community, and we're going to do that. And you know, I want to get people back on their feet again and get people back to working. And part of it, maybe people just, you know, are fearful, you know, and we don't blame them. But again, if we utilize the vaccine and the mask, we can do this. And, you know, it's something hopefully we'll be able to tell our grandchildren about. But for right now, we're all on the front line. All of our kids, all of our elders in this industry, we're all on the front line.
Yeah. Very, you know, Chairman, that's very true, because we have to lead by example. You know what I mean? I still remember when, you know, when people just said, you know, I'm going to work for your tribe. I mean, it felt like such an honor, like they're almost joining the tribe. They were going to work for our casinos, and our employees meant so much to us. And still to this day, you know, when I go to the restaurant or something and I see their tag and their numbers, like a smaller number, and I know they've been there for a long time, I mean, they feel like family. So I just know personally, it's always felt personal, you know, that the fact that they've chosen to work with us, they've chosen to be part of the tribe and to be part of this enterprise that has given so much to us. So I think it's important that we create these we take what we've learned within these tribes and take these lessons to you know, to our casinos, into our communities, and, you know, and that's exactly what we're doing. You know, we're leading by example. We have a question here from Chris Georgas. Sorry, George, I know you, Chris. I pronounced your last name. So for the April trade show, is a daily COVID option possible in addition to, alternative to, a vaccination requirement? I'm concerned that some exhibitors, associate members may decline to come without an alternative. So you're saying, in addition, an alternative to a vaccination? No, vaccinations will be mandatory, man. You know what I mean? Well, look, I got in trouble last time for saying this right before I show that
Yeah,
vaccinations are mandatory. So I'm always going to say yes, but, you know, the chairman and the vice, these guys rank me. So, you know, that's it. I know, you know, one of the things that we did have some testing on the floor, but it wasn't official. I think what Jason's saying with Declare, but, you know, with my tribe, you know, it's been interesting. It's been a leadership top down type of thing. You know, everyone get vaccinated, everyone get boosted. There's really been a real living example of leadership over here. So what do you think?
Yeah, I just think that you just got to stay home, if that's, and again, I say that respectfully, because I don't
Yeah.
want to, I don't want to be rude to anybody, but we're
Yeah.
going to vaccine, and we're going to boost, and we're going to wear masks, and that's just the way it is for right now. And anybody that sees it otherwise, they just, they just have to live in a more conservative world, because these are the kind of precautions we have to take. And again, I'm not like Victor. I'm a little bit more careful. I feel the pulse of Indian country. So sorry, I'm throwing you under the bus, Victor. But the pulse of Indian country says that we got to be vaccinated. So we have to be safe, and we have to be careful. And for us to go into that world, especially it's only a few months away, we have to hope that our prayers, our blessings, and our practice is going to help put us in a world that we're safer. And I think we're going to get there. I'm pretty confident, but I don't think it's too early to say we can get there without the mask and the vaccine. So again, I respectfully ask those folks to reconsider and get vaccinated, and protect your family, protect your community.
Yeah, and what the chairman is saying is, and at the root of what he's saying is that Native Americans have a higher rate of illness. They have a higher rate of mortality. You're dealing with, do you want to come to a trade show and make the people who are going to buy your product sick? Do you want to make them to take it back to the reservations? Even we're at this point where we're vaccinated, we're still dealing with asymptomatic transmission and stuff like that. So I think it's, I just feel that it's disrespectful to come into Indian country and not be vaccinated. That's the way I feel. It's not obviously a company policy, but I think if you're coming to the reservation, then if you want to do business, if you want to sell your product, then you need to be vaccinated. You need to make sure you're not making your customers sick. You want to take an ideological stand, you can do that at home. You can do buy Oculus glasses. You can do virtual reality, visit them that way.
Yeah, Victor, we at our trade show in Las Vegas, you mentioned we did have a testing site, free
Right.
testing site. And I talked to those guys at the end of the show. They administered
scary.
over 1,200 tests. They had about 10% positive rate. And most of the people who tested positive were vaccinated. And they said every one of them was always shocked, like, oh my God, I'm fine. I don't feel like I have COVID. I think there were 2 people that even though they just had tested positive, tried to walk into the show. Most people were very respectful and just said, I'll go back to my room. Yeah, to think that we could just do testing and then, I got a negative test today, I can walk around and not have a mask and not be vaccinated. We kind of got a little preview of what that is going to entail. And it has to entail basically having like a security guard there, because there's just going to be that person that is just rude or just doesn't care, frankly. And
the majority of the folks that Jason are in high percentile are all respectful, all
Right.
careful. It only takes 1 or 2 of those folks
Right.
that have that extra energy, and some of them mean well. They just feel strong-willed about it, but that's fine. If you're strong-willed about it at this juncture, stay home. That's my position.
Yeah, and if you're strong-willed about it after you just test positive, geez, I don't know what to say to you anymore, because the one guy they had to call security on to get him to leave. So
Dr. Fauci this morning, a giant majority of those folks that are hospitalized right now are unvaccinated. How many times do we really have to say that, or see it, or to analyze it?
Right.
And again, I'm not wanting to be condescending or disrespectful to people that make that choice. That's their decision. But I just don't, at this juncture, we can't afford to have them in our audience.
Yeah, and even
Go ahead, Jason.
Well, just to point out what Ernie's saying, at National Indie Gaming Association, we've had 4 people with COVID over the break. The 3 that had boosters have had no to very little symptoms. The one who was vaccinated didn't have a booster. She said it was the worst head cold she's ever had in her life, and she didn't want to go through it again. So, I brought that up earlier. We're going to have to rely on the health authorities to tell us what's fully vaccinated, because you see in Israel now, they're requiring a 4th shot is
right.
It's on the way. So, we're going to have to really just go with what the health professionals tell
Where's
us.
that fourth shot? I'll drive there right now.
Yeah, I know.
I'm an old guy. Remember,
I think
I'm
Jason might
60.
have his fourth shot already.
I know.
don't you,
I'm
Jason?
almost ready for my fourth shot because I jumped the gun on the third shot because I got my vaccination. You know, I was part of a study, so I got it a little bit earlier than most folks. But you know, I just do not want to get this. I don't even want to get it and be asymptomatic because the stuff is leaking out about long-term issues with people who have had COVID. And it's frightening. You know I may have mentioned it before, but I have a good friend. His 16 months later, his taste and smell have still not come back, and he's in incredible shape. He was a runner. You know, he's 45, and it's scary to think. You know, his whole life is a mess because you walk around and you know you have no sensory perception of it. What's the joy of eating? What's the it's just crazy.
Well, you know, Jason, I had a conversation yesterday with someone, and they were talking about they had family and they had health issues and stuff like that, and so that's why they were avoiding the vaccinations. And it was not a reactionary type of person. This was somebody who had legitimate concerns and stuff, and you know, and hearing it from someone like that, you know, I try not to be so militant about it, but you know, and I try to be understanding and like that. But and I understand there are people who have legitimate concerns, and I think those are a lot of them are very real. But I think also in this world of misinformation and alternative facts, I think we have to err on the side of caution. I think that's important, and I think to create an environment where we can do business that's a safe environment, that's our priority. To keep
best
the
way of saying
tribes,
it, Victor.
yeah,
That's the best way of saying it. Err on the side of caution.
Right.
To keep the tribes so that tribal gaming is growing at a faster rate than commercial. I mean, if you look at, Vegas, they're doing really well, but trust me, the local casinos are doing even better. So there's a lot of opportunity here, and I want to make sure the tribes don't lose their advantage in the industry. I want to make sure they're not going to slip behind in the fight for sports betting. And you know what? And I'm going to go one more step further on this thing. 2022 is an important year because this is a year that's going to determine on the future of gaming where the tribes are going to stand. Are the tribes going to get rolled in Florida? Are the tribes going to get rolled in California? That is the big question in 2022. I want to make sure that we are standing and we are creating safe environments that we can have these conversations, not just Zoom calls, but conversations where leaderships are in a room where we are safe and we are still leading this industry. That is my priority.
Yeah,
my priority and our priority is creating these safe environments and making sure we're not rolled.
You're exactly right. This whole sports betting and internet gambling stuff, we've been waiting for that opportunity to get everyone in a room to really feel the pulse, debate this. Our trade show was good, but that was like the first time we met in a year and a half, and we had 10 other things, to also deal with. We can't just do like a little NCAI NIGA task force thing. Everyone come to DC for 2 days. NCAI is on the verge of canceling their February. They probably will. They're going to have to. Their February executive session and make that all virtual. But we need that critical mass where everyone's in the room. Because honestly, on Zoom, you just don't get a lot of people chiming in, or if they ask questions through the chat, it's just not the same. And so we definitely needed to do all those things, like you said, with some of these hot topics out there and that are critical to the future of Indian gaming. And that's why let's look at if you look at the count, it was January 5th. By April 5th, that's 90 days from now. That actually is a long time. We've got 90 days, I think. And so April 5th is exactly 2 weeks before our show. We'll have a really good idea of what's going on with COVID on April 5th. And, to Chris's question, I don't know, it's hard to see if a mask mandate is relaxed by then, but, maybe, I know, I think we've learned our lesson. Like when you relax it, it just creates the opportunity for everything to come roaring back again. And
err on the side of caution.
Right.
Victor said it best.
So
and Jason, I think that, to our friends at ICE, we're giant supporters of that show. I've been there several times. It's one of the best experiences of my life to see the world, the biggest gaming show in the world. So we're giant supporters. We got to do what's realistic and what we can, one step at a time.
Yeah. And so, hey, it's not, you got 90 days now to get your vaccines, to make contingency plans, to figure out, who you're going to send and where they're going to stay and all those types of things.
What if they show up in a diving bell or like one of those deep diving suits, you know what I mean? An oxygen tanks. We'll let them in then,
each their
right?
own.
Yeah, well, if you come in with an oxygen tank, or we'll let you in that way. But if you're breathing, free breathing on your own, we're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have to. I'm saying Oculus too, but I think it's important that we also do part of a virtual. I think at the last show, we purposely didn't go online because we felt that it was important that people meet in person. And I know that goes against everything that we've said and health and safety and stuff like that. But, for Indian country, it's important that we get together, that leadership gets in the same room, that we have, and this is how it happens. This is how it's always happened. Whether going back to our ancestors, meeting under the great oak or around the big fire or wherever place, this is how we've always done business. So I think it's very, very, very important that, we create this environment again in April. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, if the trends are any indicator, and, we're really good at trends in this industry, I think we'll be in a down cycle again, and we're going to catch a breath of fresh air. And, we're still going to be strict on it and making sure people get it. But I think the fear that's in the media right now, you read the Washington Post or the BBC or something like that, there's a lot of fear. You're looking at the cancellation of classes in Chicago, the 1,000 flights that got canceled yesterday. The biggest frightening story I read today was people trapped in electric cars in Virginia on the freeway overnight. That was my nightmare, man, being cold in an electric car that won't start, so I guess you got to go to the drawing board again with this whole clean energy thing again too. That combustion engine keeps you warm. It's kind of hard to get warm hugging a battery, So
keep a gas generator in your electric vehicle trunk.
Right. And so I think by April, I think the fear talk will tamp down a little bit, and people will start to feel a little normal again, and hopefully we'll catch in that ramp again. And then, and whatever happens in the summer, hopefully, we're still waiting for that herd immunity. You know what I mean? And I'm reading everything I can. I'm one of those internet experts that we hear about. Guys, I think, we're doing our best we can. We're doing our work. We're doing our research. We're trying to keep our people safe. We're trying to create a safe business environment. And all the while, we have our Ouija board out and we're reading tea leaves and trying to make decisions on something that we have no idea about, other than, we have feelings and ideas now that we've done it. And, we're the only, us and G2E are the only ones that really put on successful conferences, in person. Well, there's a couple other ones, and stuff. Yeah.
Victor, I'm looking out the window at a snowstorm, okay? And I got to go home and shovel my driveway. And so we're used to this. We don't have those kind of traffic jams in Wisconsin because we're used to snow, we're used to ice, we're used to blizzard, and so and again, to those folks, it's I know they've been through a lot over there, but I think that combined with the fact that I'm a former collegiate athlete, and the springtime was always the end of all those workouts and all that rigor, and then finals are here. And there's all kinds of ways to look at the sunshine, the weather getting warmer, so and the NIGA conference and all those things. That's what spring brings us. I'm not making a prediction. I will tell you that I will still be wearing these masks, but I'm hoping that will just give us a little glimpse of what the future could hold. So if we hold the line, if we get our vaccination and wear our mask and cover all the bases, I think that we'll be in a better place 3 months from now. I won't guarantee it and I won't predict it, but I'll say we just got to hold the line now. We have to work now to make a better tomorrow. And I think we can do that, and I'm excited about that, because I think if we work hard, that we can get through this. And the only way we're going to get through this is if we all get vaccinated and we all take care of our health, look out for our elders, protect our young ones, and handle these protocols. And that's just, even the people who don't believe in the vaccination, the few that don't, then they should be able to take different kind of precautions to respect other feelings just like we do theirs. But again, I want to say that I respectfully ask them to reconsider. The vaccination is the best way to go, and it's going to help us to get to the next step in the world around us. It's up to us. Like I said before, we are on the front line, all of us. It's up to us. It's up to us to work together, to hold hands and move this world forward.
Yeah, and I really, if you haven't looked at the news just take a look at Maryland, because this is the worst Maryland's had it since the pandemic began. And it's because 8% of the adults are unvaccinated. And, that's roughly in this state, it's roughly 500,000 to 600,000 people are unvaccinated adults 18 and older. So, it can swamp the hospitals here. Also, by the way, where there's probably more hospitals per capita than anywhere else, if you include the DC area hospital system. We don't have a shortage of hospitals here, but now we have a shortage of hospital beds, which is just unfathomable with the higher vaccination rate that we have in the DC area. And so, if you're in a state where, you're at 50%, I saw some states are at 41, man, you're going to be in big trouble, because this thing is just it's like a wildfire. And, at Indian Gaming Association, we made it through this whole thing. No one ever had it. And a lot of us were exposed at trade show, mid-year, and then blammo, Omicron is taking our, half our office out. So just incredible. And you really got to just wake up to this one. So did you mention Tennessee earlier? Man, they're in for a big one. There must have been 3 or 4 bowl games in Memphis. And I was just like, wow, there's just a lot of spreading going on there. So.
Well, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I think we've said a lot, and I think what's important is that we keep going forward the way with caution. I mean, that's all we can do. I think the important thing to remember is we're still doing business. We're still doing blockbuster business. People are still buying machines. Sports betting is still going forward. Online gaming is even more popular now that we can, the tribes are doing. So it's very important that, we look at this, what the future of gaming, and that we're making sure we're riding that wave too and not left behind. And so that's been my priority for the last 23 years. And it feels like, everything is going to come to a head in 2022. So
Victor,
I want to make sure.
Just one more shot, a quick shot. My friend Lynn Rapp, Kareem
Right.
Abdul-Jabbar, a guy named Steve Glassy, the Ford Foundation, my friend AC Green, right now, he did this pandemic. He's in Southern California helping people get tested, helping people get their vaccine. All these people that are helping us, I just want to give them credit. And most importantly, to those tribal leaders on the front line, to the gaming managers, the gaming commissioners, and as I said earlier, those folks wiping those machines down, they're so vitally important to all of us, and so I thank them. And that's what when I went to Red Cliff last week, that message was was acknowledging Red Cliff for what they've done in person, but the message was they were role models and examples for what we're doing throughout all of Indian country. So again, I reiterate to all our gaming world is that we're going to do our share, and we've proven we can do it, but don't stop, don't rest. We got a little ways to go.
And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much, Chairman. Jason, thank you very much. We'll see everyone next week. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
We'll keep everyone updated. This is a moving issue, but we're full speed ahead. So we're going to keep everyone updated. The hotel room block should be opening next week for Anaheim. So, you know, you'll be able to start planning fairly early on this one. And
Yeah,
get
and
folks situated.
I'm writing content. We're going to be doing, like I said, very strong business, just like we did last time. And remember, you know, in Vegas, you know, it was a crapshoot for us. You know, we created what I felt was content so compelling, and you know, initially people were going, well, we're not going to go. It's in the middle of the pandemic, but we had so many leaders there, we had so many buyers there, we had so many decision makers there. The industry had to follow, and that's our strategy again, is to create an event that you can't miss. If you miss it, you won't be able to make your rent.
And you know, you, myself, and Ernie have all been to Anaheim. They've been great. The city's been great. The convention center and visitors bureau has been great. And oh, by the way, Disney runs that area we're going to be in, and Disney has a vaccine mandate for all, you know, guests and their employees and everything. So it should be pretty safe in Anaheim, especially where we're at with all the hotels, and then Disneyland, you know, literally right next, and I mean literal stones
Across the
throw
street,
from your
yeah.
hotel window. Yeah. So it should be pretty safe.
Yeah. So, and again, so everyone, thank you. We'll talk to you guys next week. We're going to be doing some more updates about the industry and stuff like that, and continuing working on the show. And we always want to hear your ideas. So again, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you, more importantly, thank you, everyone. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.